Welcome to A New Voice in Coaching, where we discuss the new innovations coaching is bringing to our world. Whether you're a coach or interested in coaching, whether you are a leader in your business, organization, or home, here we have authentic conversations around the practical tools coaching is bringing to every area of life and culture around us. Hey everyone, welcome to A New Voice in Coaching. My name is Connie Jakab.
Hey, I'm Abe Brown. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today.
I'm really excited about today's conversation because we're leading not only a new voice in coaching, but a new way in coaching. And one of the things that we use is something called an FLQ.
Okay.
It's an assessment. It's a way to assess. And there are so many assessments out there, but this one's really unique. And I thought maybe we could talk a little bit about what that is today.
Yeah, let's do that. But before we do that, longtime listeners and watchers of this little podcast may notice that Connie has a mug here today, which is very unusual for her. But why don't you tell us why you have a mug?
Well, I have a mug because my hands are cold.
Which is not unusual because we live in Canada, otherwise known as the Great White North. So, cold hands, right? It's normal.
Yes, cold hands, warm heart.
She's got a warm heart. So, as you were saying, FLQ, it's sort of a long name shortened to the Flourishing Life Questionnaire. And one of the cool things about Certified Flourishing Coaching, and when we talk about pioneering a new way in coaching, in no way do we want to disparage any of the amazing coaching platforms that are out there, so many. But I guess like any industry, there's a constant and ongoing evolution. And one of the most exciting things about us is our partnership, our friendship, our close connection with Dr. Wayne Hammond, who is with Flourishing Life Technologies, which is a completely separate company from us. Nonetheless, we partner together on some projects, one of which is us as a coaching organization using the Flourishing Life Questionnaire developed by Dr. Wayne and Flourishing Life Technology. And what that essentially does is, rather than sort of measure your personality, and personality is an important thing to measure, but this actually measures your current flourishing capacity. And so how are you doing right now when it comes to flourishing? And that's really important, because if I know where I stand, I can both celebrate where I'm doing well and maybe give myself a pat on the back, and well-deserved. Or what I can also do is lean into those areas where I might notice I could have a little bit of opportunity for growth, right? And I know as a coach, for many years, I coached my clients without having accurate measurement. And that was a challenge because, you're only going based on what your client is telling you, which is not a bad thing. But of course, it's not necessarily the complete picture.
Right. Yes. And so it becomes a really great tool. Now, what makes this a little bit different than, say, other assessments?
Well, there's so many great assessment tools out there. And, an assessment tool is a whole other study, and I'm certainly no expert, but what we can pretty quickly tell in the people assessment tool sort of toolbox, there's, personality assessments, which are great, because then you can sort of understand more about yourself and how you're inclined. Then there's often sort of strengths-based profiles, which are also good because we need to know, where am I strong? What are my areas of gift or talent? And how can I lean into them? What I love about the Flourishing Life Questionnaire is it gives us measurement in two primary areas. One would be our mindset. And what I'm holding up here is this is the manual for our Certified Flourishing Career Coach. And in all of our Certified Flourishing Coaching training, this one here, it's about a 300-page manual and lots of references at the back. And we always do a little bit of an explanation of what Dr. Wayne calls the flourishing mindsets. And so there's 4 types of mindsets that get revealed in this questionnaire. The first is sort of what we call a surviving mindset. And, that sort of doesn't need much of a definition. I mean, somebody who's got a surviving mindset, they're just in a place where every day is a fight for survival. And, I've been there. So that there's no judgment in that. It's really about evolving from one mindset to another. It's not about looking at yourself and saying, oh, I'm weak because I have this certain mindset. No. It's about understanding that as we grow and mature as people, we might start with a surviving mindset, and then pretty quickly we start to make some progress, and so then we move to a protecting mindset. And that is, this sort of mindset where you have this guarded perspective about everything, right? You're constantly in protection mode. And again, that's not something to be disparaged or put down, but then you go from there, hopefully in your growth, to a striving mindset where now you're willing and able to take a little bit more risks. You're able to step out of your comfort zone. Of course, in a protecting mindset, you're not. And then you move into the full sort of culmination of what Dr. Wayne calls a thriving mindset. And, so when you think about these, it's about understanding how am I growing and locating where am I? Because if I'm in a protecting mindset, well, that might explain why I'm not willing to take risks. Now, you might say, well, I'm not an entrepreneur. I don't need to take risks. And that might be the case. But in the Flourishing Life Questionnaire, we're also measuring the 10 core competencies for flourishing. Now, I don't want to confuse you too much, but that's the other side of this questionnaire, which, there are 10 core competencies that we develop as we flourish, right? And these are pretty simple things, right? Like, and I'll list a couple of them for you guys. Number one, personal empowerment, right? So how personally empowered am I? Personal awareness, right? So how is my level of self-awareness? My emotional or social intelligence, my interpersonal or collaborative skills, my ability to problem solve. All of these are 10 core competency factors for flourishing. Now, if I have a protecting mindset, here's what's crazy. I might naturally have a ton of emotional or social intelligence, but if I'm in a protective mindset, then I'm not going to take the risks to step outside of myself and connect with you. So that's not to say that I don't have good people skills, because I might have great people skills, but if I'm stuck in a protective mindset, it's going to be very difficult for me to move out of myself and fully engage with you. On the same token, collaborative or team building skills. I might really be a great team player, but other people around me might not see that about me if I have that protective mindset, right? And so the skills and the mindsets have this really interesting dance, because one way to think about it is the mindset becomes the capacity to which you're able to exercise a core competency, right? So we all know people, and I'll use this example, who have great people skills, but they're not really utilizing them because they've been burned in relationships before. And so they're constantly in a shell of self-protection. And you might think, oh, they don't have great people skills. They're very withdrawn. They're very isolated. They're very, almost you could think of them as self-centered. But it's not about that. It's about the fact that they are just in a protective mindset. And so the mindset impacts how you use the skill set, and it's not just enough to have the skill set. A lot of people are, well, I've got all these skills. Yes, you do. Absolutely. But your mindset is going to limit. It's like the volume control, right? It's like what other people see is actually a lot more about your mindset rather than your skill set.
Oh, I like that as a volume control, the mindset.
Yeah.
That just really brought that to light for me personally. And I work here. Isn't that funny?
She does work here, by the way. Just letting you guys know.
But it's interesting. Our mindset really does determine everything.
Yeah.
And I do enjoy that about the FLQ, that we can think about our mindset and where are we in that? And we're not judging it. We're not doing anything with it. We're just noticing it. Mm-hmm. And then how can it enhance these 10 core competencies? And so when it comes to career in this particular certification, how does the FLQ and the 10 core competencies, like you've done something very unique with this certification.
Well, what's kind of cool is, each one of our certifications, so we start with a Flourishing Life Coach certification. And the reason we do that is because we really believe that if your life flourishes, then you have an opportunity to flourish in every other area. So on top of life coaching, then, we have leadership or wellness or relationships or parenting, and then, of course, careers. So we have career coaches that we train and certify. And when I was doing the research for this and writing this, this training, one of the things I noticed, because you start to look at, well, what are the real experts in the space saying? Like McKinsey is one of the biggest sort of human capital consultants in the world, McKinsey Consulting, and they in 2020 came up with what they called these Delta skills. And these Delta skills are the 56 sort of most in-demand skills that employers are going to have in the next several decades. And so, I was really interested in that, right? Because we're writing a course on career coaching, and the idea was, what are the experts saying are going to be in demand? Because I'm not a great career coach if I'm not helping you make yourself employable by giving employers what they really need. And what was amazing to me as I went through this, and I've got this here as a reference point, but it was just awesome to see that these 56 deltas mapped perfectly with the 10 core competencies for flourishing. And so when you think about an employer, right, what does an employer want? Well, of course, an employer wants an employee who's empowered, right? I mean, I've got a team, and if the team wants me to come and solve every single problem for me, then they might as well literally not work for me. Do you know what I mean? Because actually, you're hired in order to solve problems. But if you don't have a sense of empowerment, then you're going to cause me to have to spend a ton of time solving problems that you should be solving. Now, the balance of that is, of course, every good employer, provides the tools and hopefully the resources and the training that's necessary. But as an employee, I want to show up as with an empowered mindset. Another example of that would be leadership or courage, right? So, we often, especially in entrepreneurship, face a lot of headwinds, right? We're not always having a lot of people cheering us on, and it's not like we're getting tons of money from investors or the government, and you get it as well if you're a small business owner or, if you're an entrepreneur, you know what I'm talking about. But that leadership, that courage is the capacity to keep going. Another skill, obviously, in this digital economy is having sort of the idea of what they call digital citizenship skills, right? And that's, very much about, we're not necessarily all digital natives, but what's so cool about the world we live in is that whatever you don't know, you can figure out pretty quickly. And so that maps against very nicely one of the core competencies for flourishing, which is a growth mindset, right? And that growth mindset does not say I know everything. As a matter of fact, it actually says almost the opposite. I know there's so much I don't know, therefore I'm continuing to learn and acquiring the knowledge that I don't have, right? And, so it's just this, it's really cool to see that. And as a coach, when I think about, well, why are some people flourishing and some people aren't, right? Why are some folks really thriving? This is never about morality, right? I think that most of us are really good people, but I think that those skills give you the opportunity to separate yourself in sort of a sea of sameness. When you think about how can I accelerate my development in my career, these 10 core competency factors for flourishing will help. And we can pop all of those 10 core competencies from Dr. Wayne Hammond from Flourishing Life Technologies into the show notes. Maybe just an attachment just so you can have a quick peek at that. But it's really cool how they just map almost precisely.
And how helpful for an individual, for an employer, for a workplace, someone in transition in career to have this assessment and to take it and to see and to then work with a coach. This really helps coaches be able to effectively work with their clients in such a powerful, powerful way. And so if you're interested a little bit more about the FLQ and about our unique coaching approach with flourishing, reach out to us, certifiedflourishingcoach.com. It really is a new innovative way that's solving some amazing problems out there right now of people trying to figure out how do we maximize strengths.
Yeah. And how do I not only maximize strengths, but get proactive about the areas where I have to improve. Just before I hopped on here, I was on a coaching call with a very precious individual who was spending a lot of time, pondering all the things that they regret. And, I think if I know some people are like, no regrets, but we all have regrets, right? You're basically not being honest with yourself if you don't look back on some things in your past and say, hey, I regret some things. But I think when people say no regrets, I think what they really mean is I've learned to forgive myself. I've learned that to be emotionally present and available in this moment and to be really empowered for my future, I have to let go of things about myself that where I've let myself down in the past. And who hasn't done that, right? But the question is, this is a new day. So am I going to take advantage of this new day to lean into those strengths, right? To not let my weaknesses get the best of me, because I don't think we ever get to a place with our weaknesses where they're just one and done. That would be really cool. I think we can get to a place where we have a lot more control over them, but they're always there waiting to pull us back. And what we have to create is that consistent habit pattern of choosing, who am I going to be today? How am I going to show up? And I think that flourishing mindset gives us the chance to do that.
That's powerful. Well, on that note, Abe, that was a great conversation around the FLQ.
And hey, one thing I'll mention, folks, as well, and Connie mentioned the Flourishing Life Questionnaire, and please do check out our website, certifiedflourishingcoach.com, because all of these certifications are there. We have lots of facilitators all over Canada, the United States. Of course, everything right now is online. There's also in-person versions, but you might want to just check it out and hop into one of these trainings and see, does this make sense? And is this something you could use either in your own life, the people that you love, or the clients that you're working with?
And on that note, we will see you next time.
See you soon.